All right, here we are with some homework help, some commentary about some of the Lewis structure homework that we had. So this is from Chapter 8, number 106, Problem C. We're asked to first draw the Lewis structure of this compound, ClO4, and then figure out the formal charge of the central atom. So I've gone through the Lewis structure steps. I've drawn that. Now let's figure out the charge of chlorine. So to calculate that formal charge, we're going to do chlorine's valence electrons, which is 7, minus the number of lines around chlorine in our structure, which is 4, plus the number of dots around chlorine, which is 0. So 7 minus 4 is positive 3. So in the compound that we've drawn, chlorine has a formal charge of plus 3. So our goal is to minimize this formal charge, and we want to get it as close to 0 as we can. So in this structure, all of our oxygens have a formal charge of minus 1. So again, the goal here is to get our formal charge as close to 0 as we can. So one way that we can do that is we can add double bonds, because adding double bonds will decrease formal charges. So let's take one of these oxygen-chlorine bonds and let's make it a double bond, and we'll see what happens. All right, so I just took one of the oxygens and made it a double bond and recalculated the formal charges, and so here is what happened. So anytime oxygen is double bonded with two pairs of electrons like this, its formal charge is going to be 0. So that's 6 valence electrons minus 2 lines, and then 4 dots, so 6 minus 6 is 0. And then the chlorine's formal charge drops to plus 2. So chlorine, again, has 7 valence electrons. We count the lines around it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 minus 5 is positive 2. So we have brought those formal charges down. If we keep going, they should drop a little bit more. So let's make another double bond. All right, so I've made another double bond. That brings another oxygen down to 0. And I just chose this oxygen that's pointed down here. And then chlorine's formal charge drops to plus 1, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines around it in our Lewis structure now. So let's keep it going. We'll do one more double bond and we'll see what happens. All right, so one more double bond brings another oxygen down to 0, and then also brings our chlorine down to 0, because chlorine now has 7 lines around it in the structure. We do have one single bonded oxygen left. It's got the minus 1 formal charge. Something in this compound has to have a negative 1 formal charge, because the overall charge is minus 1. So that has to be reflected in the formal charges. So remember that the sum of the formal charges must equal the overall charge of the compound. So the question is now, do we let oxygen carry that, or do we add another double bond and let chlorine carry that? So let me show you that structure. So here we are. Do we need 3 double bonds and the negative 1 formal charge on an oxygen, or do we need 4 double bonds and the negative 1 formal charge on the chlorine? So somebody's got to carry a negative 1 formal charge in this compound. It is better if oxygen carries it, so our structure in white here is better than our structure in blue, because we want the more electronegative atom to have a negative formal charge. That is a more favorable arrangement of electrons, a more stable structure, if you will. So in terms of electronegativity, the thing to keep in mind is fluorine, oxygen, and nitrogen are at the top, and so we want those elements to carry negative formal charges if at all possible. So again, structure in white better than the structure in blue, because chlorine is less electronegative than oxygen, and so we want to put that negative formal charge not on chlorine but on one of the oxygens.